A big interview tonight here on PM Express, and it has been 6 months. On Thursday, the media budget will be read. The media budget review will come your way, but it is a midpoint that we need to assess how this government is doing. One of the key areas when you listen to the government itself is in the area of youth development and empowerment, because that is where the key job creation agenda will be realized. And the man who has been tasked to deliver this is with me tonight. He is George Opare Addo. You know him as Pablo. He's my guest on the show. There are a host of things that we need to look at. Of course, you know that his ministry used to be part of what they call the youth and sports ministry. That was clearly separated so that he can focus on youth development and empowerment. Then you have the sports ministry focusing on recreation also. But his plate is full. He's been doing a lot of things that we now need to assess. This is a time for a scorecard, and he's going to be assessing that and giving a scorecard on a number of things. The youth employment, unemployment interventions to deal with the unemployment challenges that we know that we currently face. He's been implementing the Adwumawura program. Part of the objectives there is to deal definitely with the unemployment challenge. We'll look at where they are, do a status report on that very major policy intervention by the Mahama administration that he's championing. Was launched. It was a lot of fanfare. So what has happened since then? He will tell us. The rollout of the National Apprenticeship Program is another one, a big one indeed. That was also launched, also to deal with the challenge of empowering young people with the skills that they can stand by themselves and create their own jobs. Those who will not get into formal employment, efficiency, when it comes to the scholarship disbursement. And as you know, there's a major bill in Parliament currently seeking to reform the scholarship regime. And that, I understand, comes under his watch also. So those are big ticket items that he's now having to juggle. And then you have the national service, another area that has been a challenging area for a lot of people in the past. But this comes under his watch also that he needs to manage. But he has a personal ambition. One of the projects that he's adopted is the Red Mean Stop project that is trying to deal with, illicit drugs among the young people. And I'll pick his thoughts on this. So he's a young man himself, and he has his own thoughts on a number of issues. And I'll get a scorecard from him on these big ticket items here on PMX. On your behalf, indeed. That's him. He's my guest. He's in the studio. We're going to be talking to him. That's him in your shot there. Right after the break, we'll get into asking him a few questions. It's the middle of the year. What has he done in the last 6 months? Yes, the party, his government has been in power. He's been championing and trying to implement all these major items. It's fair to assess that now. He's my guest up to this. Stay with me. And thank you very much for joining us here on PM Express. It's always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough. Academic Times and Pepsodent Cavity Fighter Toothpaste. Now, Ghana, let's talk water tanks. Now, do you know the secret to real water storage is simple? If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. Join the Syntex Tanks family today and enjoy a water storage that is tough, like a tortoise. Call them on 0244-335-168 to buy now or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex Tanks, a strong, a tough. And then the Academic Times Journal is launching soon with 3 distinctive graphic publications and a journal to showcase and empower students across all educational levels, while the journal and the tertiary one seeks to ensure that tertiary students reach wider audience with their research and make an impact by contributing to institutional and national development. So look out for that too. And then tonight, before you sleep, what you have to do. Brush your teeth. We tell our kids that. Let's do that to us adults. Every time we eat food, and sugar is a trap between our teeth, leading to tooth decay, gum disease, and in some cases, foul breath. Brushing your teeth every morning And just before you sleep with Pepsodent Cavity Fighter gives your teeth the protection they need, leaving you with a 10% stronger teeth. And that is what you need to pay attention to tonight. And my guest joining me, you know already, George Opare Addo is the Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment. And he joins me in the studio. Grateful that you could join me for a conversation.
Thank you, Evans, for having me.
Great to have you. It's been how many months now since you were sworn in?
Technically 6 months.
6 months, yes.
We are in the 7th month. So
True.
We came in January.
Yeah?
So far, 6 months.
Yeah. You have done quite a bit of work as a party leader, the youth front. Now you are a minister. I'm always curious to know, for those who have spent their lives just serving the party, you have, by the way, been in government before us, you know, the Krapim North MC, so you have a fair idea. But as a minister, also considering that your ministry is the first ever ministry created solely to deal with youth development and empowerment, you are almost charting a course here that nobody had done very exclusively before. Youth and sports used to be what we know. How has it been? Is it the same as leading up the party as a youth organizer?
Good evening first to your viewers. It's been a very difficult terrain doing the transition from working within the party. There are two different terrains. When you work within the party, a lot of things are done. I won't say anyhow, but you are not under straight obligations. You don't go to parliament to answer questions. At best, it's fake or NEC that will call you to answer questions. But when you are in government, it's a whole new terrain, new bureaucracies. The way we do things at a party level, you get things done faster. But when you get into government, there are a lot of bureaucracies that you need to cut through, and it is always a challenge. Also, establishing a ministry from scratch, others already have a path that has already been charted for them.
You would have a chief director already in the ministry. You have the technical.
It took me about 4 months to get a full complement of directors. Because they were aligning ministries. You know, some ministries had to be realigned, and ours was a new one. It took me about 3 weeks to find a building to house a ministry, and then it took me about a month to get a chief director. She came in, and then now she had to help me establish and start a ministry. And so we are still at the formative stages of establishing a ministry properly. Meanwhile, immediately it was announced that there is a ministry for youth development. If I'm not mistaken, I'm minister for half of the country, because young people constitute more than 50% of the total population. And so the pressure that alone brings, everybody coming to see you because this is our minister, and you must have solutions. And there are so many challenges that confront young people. Now, the real challenge is not even the establishing of the ministry itself. It is what I call the turf fights. Before the ministry came, the Youth and Sports Ministry used to house the Ministry for Youth, technically. And you realize that most of the agencies that are under the Youth Ministry, the EI that established the ministry originally gave us 6 agencies. It gave us the National Youth Authority, it gave us the Youth Employment Agency, it gave us the National Service Authority, it gave us the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, then it gave us MASLOC, and also gave us the Scholarship Secretariat. Currently, I have 5. MASLOC has left, because over the years, MASLOC has been under the office of the president. It's a financial institution. And so there was more or less a challenge. Also, YEA used to sit with the Ministry of Employment. So they realigning to the Ministry of Youth Development was a challenge.
So YEA is now under you?
Yes.
That's where Basintale is?
Basintale.
So that he directly reports to you?
Reports to me directly.
Okay.
Then the National Service Authority was under the Ministry of Education. So realigning them to come and now work under the Youth Ministry was also a challenge. Then you had the National Youth Authority that had always been with the Ministry of Youth and Sports. So for them, it was easy to align. Then the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, which is just a program. It is not an agency yet. We are working on a bill that is going to turn them into an agency, a full-fledged government startup agency. They, over the years, have sat in the office of the president. At a point in time, was under the Ministry of Finance. One time, it was under the Ministry of Business Development. And so they don't have any proper lay-down infrastructure or any proper lay-down setup. And so aligning them was also a challenge. And their reporting channels was a challenge as well. Then you have a ministry, you need to bring together all these 5, and then the scholarship secretariats. You need to bring all these agencies under your watch. And scholarship over the years has been under the office of the president. And so now bringing them under the Ministry for Youth Development. And technically, scholarships are educational issues. And so how do you marry the two? We needed to also work with the finance ministry to have a budget for the ministry. We needed to be able to have a composite budget that had all these agencies' budgets infused under the ministry's budget. I didn't have the stars. So it's been a hell of a challenge. The last 6 months has been very challenging. I also had 2 special presidential initiatives that needed to be launched because we had deadlines as part of the 120 challenge. That is the Adwumawura program and then the National Apprenticeship program. You needed to set up technical committees to be able to put the framework. Because there was a new program, we needed to put the framework together. You needed to have sector working groups. You needed to bring on board all other agencies that will have something to do with both the Adwumawura program and then the National Apprenticeship program. And now which of these agencies, even under your ministry, should lead in these programs? When I assumed office, I realized that there was a lot of duplicity. So you find same government agencies almost doing the same thing. And so the agencies that were under my watch, for instance, YEA was doing something on entrepreneurship. The National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, NIP,
also doing
something under entrepreneurship. And then the NYA was also doing training programs. YEA is doing, it was all over. So we needed to find a way of realigning everybody to its core mandates. And so I had to organize a meeting quickly with all the agencies at Royal Senchi. We were gracious enough to get an agency, one of the private consortiums called LEAD, to fund it for us. On that program, we asked that everybody should list what he does. And then let's go to your act that establishes you, so that we are able to understand what your core mandate is and see if we can help you focus on your mandate. It was after that meeting that we agreed that, okay, the Adwumawura program, which is to support entrepreneurship, should be run by the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. They should be the lead agency running it. It didn't sit well with, for instance, YE, because they already have a model on the entrepreneurship. But we looked at core mandates and we said, okay, your mandate is to focus on job creation. So focus on that. There is a big area where you can look into. And let NIP focus on leading the Adwumawura program. Then we needed to also look at who is going to lead in the apprenticeship program. Is it going to be the YEA? Is it going to be the NYA? What are the NYA's core mandates? They are supposed to train and develop Ghanaian youth. And so if they are supposed to develop and train them, why don't we leave the apprenticeship program for them? Because what we wanted to do with the apprenticeship program is not the everyday TVET programs that are running. We wanted to go back to the master craftsmen, where in your locality, your mother will carry your younger brother and say, I'm taking you to go and learn a vocation or a trade. And so I'm taking you to somebody who is already established in that trade or vocation to train you. And in doing that, which agency was best fit to run it? And so we debated it and we agreed that then the NYA, which has the mandate of training and equipping Ghanaian youth with skills through the informal sector, they should lead in that. And that is how come the program sits with NYA. And we had to do all this in 6 months. We needed to launch the Adwumawura within a 120-day promise. We needed to launch the apprenticeship program within a 120-day promise. And we needed to have a legal framework in place. We needed to have a technical committee to come up with a whole policy document. And so it's been back to back.
Yeah.
Not being so good, we've been able to launch the Adwumawura, we've been able to launch the apprenticeship program. We got our budget passed. We have a full ministry now, at least now have the full complement of directors. But a lot of this work happened when we didn't even have the full complement of.
Yeah, obviously, because this is a new ministry. We'll interrogate the various big ticket items you've launched. But so what has surprised you the most? What was the biggest shock when you took over?
It's the way the civil service operates. I have been in government before, and I operated from a district, a municipality. And the operations at the districts and the operations at the ministries are two different things. There is more bureaucracies at the ministry than at the...
So here you are, you don't have time. Because of the promises you made in the lead up to the elections, you have set deadlines. You have to launch two big programs. And you know people like us will be scrutinizing you.
Certainly.
The president himself is holding you because if you miss the deadline, you are in trouble. And then you're now talking about bureaucracy that is slowing you down.
It's not to slow you down. It's the kind of checks and balances and the boxes they have to tick as civil servants. And also because of the way the finance ministry operates. And because of the rules, the Financial Regulations Act and the Rwanda, there are things that must be done and must be done well. You cannot, like I said, when you run a political party, all you need is to go to your general secretary and get approval. You can just call him on phone and get the approval. But in government, it's a total different entity. Government is a total different terrain. You need to, memos will have to be generated. It has to go for approval. Before even it gets to finance, and even to go through procurement now with the new law, you must get a letter or an approval from the Ministry of Finance to even commence any procurement or any programs. And so, but it is fine. It helps, brings about the checks and balances that we seek for. It's just that we need to be a bit more, in terms of technology, government agencies will have to be a bit more digitalized because of, there's too much paper flow. And that is what, those are one of the things I'm doing at the ministry. I'm trying to digitalize almost everything. It may work at my ministry, but because we have correspondences with other ministries, you'll still have to have a lot of paper going around. And I find it very strange that in the 21st century, instead of sending emails, you still have memos going around. But it's because of how our approval processes also work. But I believe that with time...
But it's also because if you have hard paper, it's difficult to have a trail. If you send electronic correspondence, you can track every single...
And I believe strongly that is where we have to go. It will help check corruption. It will help check corruption. It will also bring about efficiency. And then because when I send an email, at least there is a time on it. There are mails that goes through the mail, it leaves wherever it has left, is received at your ministry, let's say, 4 or 5 days before you get to see it. And then you see the day the program is happening. It's too late, exactly. And so those are some of the challenges. We are trying to bring about efficiency. I have a chief director that has been very fantastic, and she understands the need. And I keep telling her, this is the youth ministry. So the other ministries can do things the old way, but we can't do things.
I hope she's young, though.
She's okay.
Okay, because that's a fundamental point. You are definitely in the range.
She's okay. She's not too old, so she appreciates the times we are in.
Okay. To do all this, you must have resources. And often when fresh ministries and agencies are created, the biggest challenge is sending them the resources to work. In your budget, when I checked, you were allocated 644 million cedis. And then I saw that if you have the financial support from the ministry and departments, if you break it down in total, because you have Get Fund?
Get Fund doesn't fall under me.
Okay. It doesn't, yes. But 644 is what you got.
644, it includes compensation. The ministry itself, in the last budget, in the 2025 budget, was only allocated 2 million cedis. 2 million cedis.
2 million cedis.
Yes. But a lot of the money you find are monies allocated to the agencies. So for instance, 300 million to the National Apprenticeship Program, 110 million to the Adwumawura program. And so that is about 410 million. And then the chunk of it, part of it goes to the scholarship secretariat, and then the rest is for, what do you call it, salaries.
So that's a fascinating point. So the rest of it has already been specified. So you can't do anything. So what goes to scholarship is specified.
Exactly. So for instance, in this budget, for instance, there was no capex, and rightly so. Not because we were being underfunded, we were new. And so we were, like I said, we didn't go with any programs as a ministry itself. we had 2 flagship programs to focus on. And so our intent was that, okay, when we engaged with the finance ministry, we said, we needed capex because as a new ministry, we needed to buy vehicles, we needed to set up. But at that time when the budget was being prepared, I told you I didn't have a budget officer, I didn't have the core staffs.
Yeah.
Or we needed to submit something. So what we did was, let's put together what is immediate, what we need to do immediately. And let's see if we can get funding.
And the budget speaks to that. So Adwumawura was allocated 100 million.
100 million.
And then the others. But I'm curious. So the 2 million CDs is...
It's for goods and services. We'll buy electricity, we'll buy fuel. It's for running of the office.
Okay.
More or less, goods and services, paper.
But 2 million CDs should have run out by now.
We are being...
it's 4 months?
We are managing it well.
2 million CDs?
Yes, that is what we have. So...
It hasn't run out yet?
I'm not going to say it's run out or it's not run out. But at least we are...
But realistically...
It's not enough.
Yes.
It's not enough.
Are you expecting mid-year is...
I've had discussions with the finance minister, and the president himself has assured that going forward will be properly funded. And like I said, at the time we took office and at the time the budget was being read, we were still at the formative processes of setting up the ministry. And we didn't go with any special initiatives. We didn't go with programs. We didn't even know what our requirements were immediately, how many vehicles we will require. We didn't have all that data. Now we do. And so we are working closely with the finance ministry so that at least whatever needs we have, we are giving those supports.
Are you expecting that on Thursday when the finance minister presents a mid-year budget review, there may be an additional funding made to you?
Certainly.
Okay. He's assured you directly?
So what I know is going to happen is that we are not expecting any new funding. But because we have, for instance, we are not giving capex at the onset. So some allocations, because we don't have vehicles to work with. We don't have...
So you're using your private vehicle now?
No, I met an old one I am driving.
Okay.
But a lot of my directors don't have vehicles. Like I said, it's a new ministry. A lot of technical aides, technical advisors, people will have to have vehicles to be able to work. It's government business. I cannot use my own vehicle for government business. So we've had that discussions with the finance minister, and he's assured us that some allocations will be made to the ministry to top up whatever we're given in the last budget. Certainly, 2 million for goods and services cannot do much.
Yeah, I'm actually, what you haven't said, I'm actually surprised that 4 months in, 2 million CDs in a month should vanish.
We are managing.
How?
How? Because I always believe that if you want to be prudent, you always find ways of making sure you don't. And you see, because we are also new, we are not overly indulgent.
Okay.
Exactly. So we are cutting our coats.
What interesting. Let's talk about the programs under you. The big flagship one is Adwumawura. You got 100 million for this, and this was a startup policy aimed at creating, tracking, and monitoring minimum of 10,000 youth-led business annually. So there was a big launch. Where are you now with that?
We've started implementation. So, like I said, we started by constituting the technical committees. Then from there, we did a launch. We had the program outline, what we wanted to do. The policy was drafted and we had approval, and so the launch did happen. The website was opened. We took forms round. So because NIP does not have regional and district offices, they needed to work with the YEA. So it is the YEA's offices that people could submit their forms. So all that has been done. At the last check, we have over 90,000 applications. This year we're only able to do 10,000 because of budgetary constraint. And so this week, from Friday, we are visiting the various hubs. So far, almost 165 hubs have come on board that wants to help in training the incubators, training the people who are going to go through. We've constituted a selection process, a team, a selection panel that is going to select the applicants, where we can't do all 90,000 applications. So we are only doing 10,000 this year. Out of the 10,000, 2,000 will get financial support after the program. And then we'll also graduate some to go through what we call the presidential pitch. And that one, those who go through, about 20 of them will get additional funding from the president himself. We're also doing what we call the vice presidential pitch for female entrepreneurs, young girls who will go through. They will also pitch, and when their proposals meet the criteria we set out, they'll also get additional funding. We're also looking at people living with disability, and in all this, we are saying that at least a minimum of 5% of the applicants, of those who qualify, should be people living with disability. And so if, for the apprenticeship program, if you are even disabled and we are able to ascertain that you are living with any form of disability, automatically you qualify for the apprenticeship program. But with the Adwumawura, because it's a bit more technical, you must have a working proposal that fits into what we seek to do. And then you must tick certain boxes. Once you tick and you have any disability, automatically you are brought onto the program. And those with disability will be also pushed onto the vice presidential pitch and then given needed.
So currently you are at the application assessment phase.
Exactly. So this week we are inspecting the hubs. We can't work with all the 165 hubs. We need to see which hubs have what it takes because we've set out. So we have a whole manual. The British Council helped us develop a manual as to what kind of training programs are going to take young people through. And one of the key things we are focusing on is what we call mind education, because that is what is really lacking. Mind education. When you travel to Korea, the difference between what the Koreans do and what we do is the mindsets. A lot of businesses are failing not because the people are not passionate, but because of our attitude towards work. So it's about learning soft skills. It's about, a lot of us have this sense of entitlement that I should be given this. So if I'm not giving, we blame people for our problems, forgetting that sometimes it is ourselves. We need a change of attitude, a reset of the mind to be able to be more focused, more disciplined. A lot of us fail not because we don't know our craft, but because we lack discipline.
So you mean attitude?
More or less.
It is primary to succeeding. You can be as talented as anything else.
So we call it mind education.
Mind education. How are you going to do this?
So as part of, you know how the entrepreneurship program runs, you are taken through a hub, giving soft skills, training on financial literacy, how to manage a business, how to start a business, how to grow it. So as part of that training process, one of the curriculums we'll be running is mind education, your attitude towards your work, your business, and how you relate with other people.
I see. Your target is 10,000 this year. You are in July ending. You're going to start August very soon. You are now assessing applications. You don't have time to meet that target.
We do, Evans, we do. The program has been set up in such a way that it's a maximum of 3 months. And so we are going to do it in 2 batches. And we are doing it across the country. If you look at it, technically every constituency is getting just about 30. So it is very possible and it can be done.
You are creating, you are tracking, you are mentoring. So this is sustainable jobs you want to create.
Certainly.
Right? So this is not something that you do 10,000 and then they go. This is over the period you have to be mentoring them and sustaining them.
So we are training 10,000, but we are supporting 2,000 new businesses.
Okay. So for the 8,000...
For the 8,000, you see, a lot of them already, and you see, it is not for just new businesses.
Okay.
Some of them have started their businesses already. And so all some of them do need is that mentoring, is that...
capital, sometimes.
So capital is 1, mentoring is 2, and then learning some basic skills, financial literacy, stock taking, soft skills, how to even relate with customers. So it is that kind of training we are giving.
So that's the 8,000 already existing businesses?
No. So it's a blend of new businesses and already existing businesses that have been started by young people.
Okay, so what you mean is that the 2,000 will be, you want to create them from scratch?
Yes.
And then for the 8,000, they already existing?
No. We are training 10,000 young people.
Okay.
And as part of the training, some of the applications we've received are people who have already started their businesses. And maybe they've not been able to register. They don't even know how to register their business. As part of the training we are giving you, we are going to train you on how to register your business and what to go through. And most of those registration processes, we are going to observe it for them. But those that we are going to support with capital, 2,000 new businesses will get funding to start. Yes.
Okay.
And we are training 10,000. And so out of the 10,000, the 2,000 with the best proposals that we feel can be scaled up. The ideas are scalable and can employ at least a minimum of 2 new people. Will get support and funding. And out of that, another group of 100 will be selected from that 2,000 to pitch at the presidential pitch. And if the ideas are big enough, big ticket ideas, then they get additional funding to be able to expand their businesses. Then females who find themselves within that 2,000 will be put in another category. They will pitch with the vice presidential pitch.
Yeah.
And then they will also get additional funding.
So at the end of the day, how many jobs for Adwumawura alone do you want to create at the end of the 4 years, if you like?
So it depends. That is why we said a minimum of 2 jobs, depending on. So if it can be scaled.
So if you're working with the minimum, let's assume that there's a minimum.
In 4 years, all things being equal, we are looking at about 50,000 jobs. Yes.
On this alone.
That is because this year we are only doing 10,000.
Yeah.
But next year, from what His Excellency have told us, we are going to get more funding. And the good news is that we've met with a lot of our international donor partners. All of them wants to see how the program is going to roll out. So they are doing a wait and see. But they've also assured us that if what we've told them we intend to do, and all the things they've told us to do, if we're able to do it, then they'll put funding into it. And so once we get additional funding, we'll be able to scale up. I'm being modest with 50,000, but our real target is to create 100,000 jobs at the end of our 4 years. But at least with government funding alone, if we don't get any additional funding from anywhere, with the commitments government has made, by the end of the 4 years, at least 50,000 decent jobs should be created.
And I see that then you have the National Apprenticeship Program. For that, you got 300 million.
Yes.
That is 3 times what you got for Adwumawura. I see similarity, almost duplication there, you know, because from the stated write-up on this, self-employment policy, providing free technical vocational training to young people in various trades.
So if you let me explain. So our targets from apprenticeship to entrepreneurship. So this year, Adwumawura is doing recruitment of new people entirely. But once we start the apprenticeship program, which we've started, a lot of those who are going an apprenticeship, this year we are doing 10,000, but next year we are doing 100,000. Almost all our graduates who wants to, after getting the skills, that is, for instance, you want to become a hairdresser. After helping you go through that training, and you want to venture into your own business, you want to become an entrepreneur, we automatically offload you to the Adwumawura program. And then the Adwumawura will take you through their processes. And then so it is from apprenticeship to entrepreneurship. The apprenticeship program, like I said, we are going back to the old form of learning vocations and trade, where we identify master craftsmen. And then we bring you the apprentice to trade, which traditionally was what happened. And so we are
if I'm a mechanic,
so if you're a mechanic,
and I own my shop,
then we come and assess your shop.
and then if my shop qualifies, you can then bring me 10 people.
10 people.
And then you pay me to train them.
Train them, yes.
Okay.
So we are doing 2 things. We are doing what we call the Prior Knowledge Certification Program. What it simply means is that before I give you an apprentice to train, you must show me a certificate from TVET that you have been certified by TVET to be able to run and train other people. Because if you yourself, you are not qualified, you cannot train somebody. And the only way I will be able to satisfy myself that you know your craft is when TVET have assessed you. There are so many of our master craftsmen who don't have any certification. So we are organizing a program through TVET for them, what we call the Prior Knowledge Certification Program. So that TVET does an assessment of them. And then when they are assessed, they are given a certification to attest to the fact that they are qualified to be able to also impact knowledge to other people. When that is done, we also come and do an assessment of your shop. For instance, you're a mechanic or you're a welder, but you don't have a proper welding machine. But if we are able to equip you, that shop can bring on board 10 young people. What the program is going to do is to give you that welding machine. It is not yours, it is for us. We procure it for you, and then we sign an MOU with you. And then we pay you to train our apprentices. We've also developed a program, a curriculum, because we know how long some trainings can take. Sometimes, instead of training the young people, they end up, go and buy water for me, go and take care of my baby for me. We want to be able to weed out all those negativities. So we've given them, or we are giving them a strict contract. And then we are employing people through the NYA to become district and regional officers. Their job is to go around
monitor and evaluation.
To monitor and make sure what you are supposed to do, you are doing it. And if you are not doing it, we take care of the program. Because the number of applications we've received more master craftsmen, even more than the number of applicants who are applying. We've gotten over 195,000 applications for this year alone.
195,000 for master craftsmen?
No, for the apprentices.
For the apprentices, okay.
And then we have over 100,000 craftsmen applying. Exactly.
Across the country?
Across the country. And all we are asking is that...
Is it being distributed fairly across the country, every region?
Every constituency, a minimum of 30 for this year because of the budgetary allocation.
But of course, it has to also be dictated by the craftsmen available.
Exactly. And you see, so what we did was we got support from AGRA to undertake a survey. And so at least in almost every region and district, we have a fair idea what happens in there. We also don't want people leaving their regions to want to go and learn it because we cannot afford the support of accommodating people across. And we also want to check that rural-urban migration. So we want people to remain in their communities. And so we got AGRA to support us, run a survey, do some research to identify what kind of trade or crafts that in each locality is very common and is feasible and is also viable. Because if I'm learning a craft or a vocation in a community where there is no market for, there is no point in learning, because immediately I finish, I have to leave the community. But we want people to remain in the community to be able to serve the community. And so that is how the selection is being done. And a lot of the applications look to that. A lot of the people, because of the kind of worldview they have, when they are applying for what they want to learn, they tell you. And when you look onto the survey, when you assess it, you realize, oh, this community has a lot of, or it is hairdressing that is in vogue in that community. That is why this number of people want to become hairdressers in there. So when we're able to then, the novelty with the apprenticeship program is, what we've realized is that a lot of our folks are not able to finish learning their vocations or trade because of financial challenges. So and you know your masters will not pay you. And so if I go in the morning and I don't have money to feed at lunch, maybe that day I'll not go to work. I'll have to go and do some other chores to make some money before I can come. So as part of the apprenticeship program, and that is why the apprenticeship program has a little bit more funding. So all the applicants will be given stipends every month just to keep them in training. So that at least...
How much a stipend? Is it a standard stipend?
We are looking about 300 to 400 cedis, depending on which area. And you know, some other trade...
But that nobody can survive on that for a month.
Oh, but the people on leave, how much are they paid every month?
Yeah, but you're talking about a young man who is in apprenticeship, who is going to take 400 cedis a month.
How much?
Possibly some of them will have to pick transportation to the place.
That is why we are doing local-based, the same locality in which you are. Zoom Lion was paying how much for its sanitation workers?
That has been criticized. It's
but you see, between 300 and 400 cedis every month in a rural setting Evans, you'll be amazed what it will do.
But because you said it's a standard, what about the urban area, Greater Accra?
Between 300 and 400.
So the upper limit is 400.
Upper limit is 400.
So if you're in a Greater Accra, that will be woefully inadequate.
But 400 cities, Evans, trust me.
In Greater Accra or Kumasi?
In Greater Accra or Kumasi, if every month, at least you are getting 400 just to support you to learn a vocation, you should be grateful. It's a novel. It's never happened before. And you see, government cannot take all the problems. We expect that if government is supporting you halfway, family, friends may also, you are living before government came in. At least you are feeding. Ours is to help you get to work and learn. That is all we are seeking to do, to keep people in the program. It's modest, but I believe that with time, and when we have more donor or more support from government, we may be able to increase it. But for now, that is what we are able to do.
Is it 300 million just for this year?
It's for just this year.
This year. Okay, next year you're going to expand to, say, 100?
His Excellency has assured us that next year we'll get a lot of funding. Because he's very passionate about youth development. And there is not a day that His Excellency will engage with me and not find out how the program is doing.
You're not sitting in cabinet.
I do sit in cabinet.
But you're not on the cabinet list.
Yes, I'm not a cabinet minister, but I attend cabinet meetings and I'm on cabinet committees as well.
Because that obviously would have been if the president really, and the cabinet list tells you what the president's priorities are. But you are not there.
No, it's not entirely correct. You realize that, like I said, new ministry, I believe when the gender ministry was started, it just didn't make its way into cabinet. You can check that.
Yeah. But because of what you said about the president's desire and commitment to you.
But Evans, even his commitment of establishing the Ministry for Youth Development and Empowerment clearly attests to his commitment to the young people.
Listen to what the Youth Break Foundation said when the list came out for cabinet and you were not there. They said, quote, "The exclusion of the Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment reinforces the long-standing rhetoric that youth lack the experience to lead at the highest levels of government. This assumption disregards the fact that experience is built through participation. If given the opportunity, the minister, which is you, could understudy experienced cabinet members, gain institutional knowledge, and contribute innovative solutions to national issues." You agree?
It's from an ignorant perspective, forgive me.
This is the Youth Break Foundation.
And I'm saying it's from an ignorant perspective because I sit in cabinets. I attend cabinet meetings. I contribute in cabinets. I sit on cabinet committees. I'm a member of cabinet committees. And so I may not be part of the constitutionally mandated 15 or so ministers that constitute cabinets, because not every minister can be in cabinet because of the limits the Constitution provides. But I sit in cabinet. And so nothing is lost. My name may not have appeared, or the ministry may not have appeared as a cabinet ministry. But every contribution, we send memos, we send cabinet papers, we do everything. And it affects almost all other ministries. And so nothing is lost in there. And the kind of experience they are seeking for the Minister for Youth Development, I am getting that. And so if they had asked, I believe we would have shared some of this information with them.
Let's talk about the Scholarship Secretariat. That is another big one. I mean, you came into the office and met a scandal. It was supposed to be the biggest scandal. The amount of money that was being mentioned, at least.
National Service or Scholarship Secretariat?
Sorry. I'm talking about the... in fact, the Scholarship Secretariat also had its own scandal.
It has its issues.
Yes, and it's not. Remember the Fourth Estate. Fourth Estate also had its...
It has its issues.
Exposed the scandal of how people were, double, etc. I'll come to National Service, because that is also a scandal.
So what we've
done...
But
the Scholarship Secretariat, I'm asking that because of the bill that you started. And that bill, from what we understand, on the back of the Fourth Estate investigations that we saw, the abuse that they reported, which also became a scandal, you want to fix a problem. First, explain to me, what problem do you want to fix with this bill that had been in Parliament?
So I chaired that committee with Honorable Harry Naidrusu because he's the Minister for Education. Currently, the Scholarship Secretariat sits under my ministry, but when it is all done and the bill is passed, it will have to move to the Ministry of Education, because technically scholarships are educational issues. But I chaired that committee, and the co-chair was Honorable Harry Naidrusu. What we are seeking to cure is the issues, some of the issues that were raised by the
Fourth Estate.
For instance, we did not have a standard procedure for administering scholarship. And so it was who you know. It was not, because from where I sit and growing up, I knew that scholarships were for needy students, people who could not afford, or if the states had the need to address a certain challenge. For instance, when we discovered oil, and we didn't have a lot of expertise in that field, then the state would need to do an intervention. So the state will have to look for very smart, young, dedicated students and then sponsor their education and use scholarship so that they can go and come back or get training and then come and help fix the problem. Over the years, that has been abused. And the manner in which scholarship has been administered was like selling tomatoes in the markets. People go and then say, let me pay 10 cedis, let me pay 20 cedis, okay, based on the investigations that the Fourth Estate did. So we wanted to address that challenge. We also wanted to be able to have a standard, because you realize that GNPC is giving scholarships. Get Fund is giving scholarships. And then the Scholarship Secretariat itself is also giving scholarships. We needed a scholarship regime where if GNPC has funding, put it into a scholarship fund. If Get Fund has funding, put it into a scholarship fund. And then let there be an authority to regulate.
So we have one centralized agency managing all
scholarships.
All, as in public funded scholarships.
Because
so GNPC can no longer do it.
But I don't think
Get Fund.
I don't think it is even proper for a government agency like GNPC to be administering scholarships when there is a scholarship agency or an authority or a secretariat that is mandated by law to run. Also, from 1957, ever since Ghana gained independence, we have no scholarship bill. So there was no rules, there was no law as to how scholarships were administered. And so where we are today, we needed to have a comprehensive program so that I know that this is the criteria that has been set out. When I'm looking for a scholarship, this is what I have to meet. This is how I apply. Also, a lot of the scholarships that people had access to travel abroad, a lot of the programs are being run locally. So if we have that kind of money, why don't we give it to our institutions here to properly equip them so that they can give that?
Is the bill seeking to prohibit state-run scholarships from funding students abroad?
Funding some courses abroad. Okay. So one of the things we are looking at is programs that can be or are being taught here locally. The state must not spend money in sending, for instance, business administration.
So you will not fund a student to go abroad to go and study business administration?
To go and stay, when University of Ghana Business School is one of the best in the sub-region.
So in other words, you're saying that...
But we can fund you to go to the University of Ghana Business School. If that is the course you want to run.
Are we saying categorically that once there is a public institution in Ghana offers a course, then we are not going to fund a student to go abroad to go and study? Is that the...
So that is what we have currently. But, you know, Parliament will have to look at it and decide.
So that is the proposal in the bill?
That is one of the proposals in the bill. That if there is a course that is taught locally, government does not have to spend money to send a student out of this country. What it means is that we have no hope, no confidence in our own institutions. And if we cannot, as a government, support our institutions to build that kind of confidence, and even some of the schools that some of the students leave Ghana to go and attend, and you compare their pedigree to Legon, Tech, UCC, you ask yourself, are we serious at all?
But what about private tertiary institutions? Would you fund a Ghanaian student into a Ghanaian private tertiary institution?
Of course, yes. Okay. We know some of the things that Chelsea is doing.
Okay.
And so if there is a need to fund somebody...
Regardless of the cost, because even some of the internationally renowned scholarships also think about the cost factor.
Yeah, definitely the cost will be part of the things we'll look at.
Yeah, because Ashase is not cheap.
But you see, there are some programs that Ashase is running that Legon or Tech are not running. And so if Ashase has that potential, why should I send a student out of Ghana when Ashase can do it? When I can give the money to a Ghanaian entrepreneur and the money is going to remain in Ghana. And you see, one of the challenges is our exchange rates. The current bill that I have at the school is over 700 million Ghana cedis in debt that we have to find money to pay.
You mean this from the scholarship?
Yes, the debt that I have inherited as minister.
Just the scholarship secretariat?
Just the scholarship secretariat. There is a debt.
How much is that?
700 million Ghana cedis.
700 million cedis?
Yes.
Of fees that you haven't paid
that we've not paid
across the world. 700 million. That's 300 million shy of a billion cedis.
Exactly. That is the debt we inherited. And so my registrar now has to go around the world and negotiate with schools. And that is what we've been undertaking in the last 4 or 5 months. I keep sending him, go here, because you keep getting threats all over the world. We are going to sack your students. So almost every time he's out there pleading, renegotiating how much we can afford, how much we can pay. And it's become the norm because that is what we inherited. Bad mess.
Do you have the money to pay? 700 million cedis?
It involves Ghanaian students. It involves lives. It involves our citizens. And so we must find the money to pay.
Because
the Chief of Staff has been very helpful. The Minister of Finance, the Chief of Staff, we are working closely to be able to offset because it affects Ghana's international reputation as well. And so, yes, we will pay, but we will have to negotiate. We don't have 700 million in cash. So what we are doing is we are negotiating with the various institutions, the various schools across the world. And some have been very understanding, and they know that we're a new government that have come in, we inherited these problems, and so we are aligning and fixing them gradually.
In the last few weeks, some of the students have been complaining. Further, some of the schools have written to them that they would have to leave their institutions. And if you're no longer schooling, you probably have to be sent back home.
Evans, you can't blame this government for the mess we inherited. And most of these things have been outstanding for a year or two. And you see, we are also doing an audit of the true states. Because a lot of the students have opted out. We held a meeting with some of them in London and gave them some options. And a lot of them...
What options?
I can't discuss that here. But
those students already are there. They are
so we spoke to them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them decided that, okay, because a lot of it is in their stipends. A lot of the debts goes... So somebody had finished school 2 years, the government still owes him or her stipends, which was not paid. But per the law, once you finish, you must come back home. And a lot of them wants to remain there. You know, they have this no objection letter they request for, to be able to work for a year or two to gain experience, which should not be the norm. It's against the act. It's against they didn't have an act, but more or less a charter that they were using to operate. It's against it. But it was being done for them. And so we met some of them and asked that, is it that you want to stay? Because if you finish, you must come back. If I pay your fees, you must come back and help. And so is it that you want to stay? If you are going to stay, then I'm not going to pay your stipends. Because you are done with school already. And a lot of them said, okay, let the stipends go. So we've had to do an audit of how much debts. And a lot of the figures, when you delve into it, you realize that there are a bit of discrepancies. And so once the audit team finishes all its work, we'll have a clearer picture. But as at now, the bill we have sitting on our tables is in excess of over 700 million.
Have you frozen scholarship payments until the audit is done?
We are not doing any new scholarships immediately.
But for those who are already in school?
We are paying.
You pay?
Who are in school, we are paying.
So for those who have been crying, what's your assurance to them?
We'll pay. They shouldn't worry. We've engaged.
But I know they don't dictate when you pay. The schools dictate.
We have met a lot of the schools.
So you're negotiating directly with some of the international
schools. For instance, the Memphis University. My registrar went there to sit down with them and negotiate with them. A lot of the schools in the UK, Brunei, almost all the schools, we've met with those who matter. We are negotiating. We've told them, listen, our students are already here. We understand we owe you. We will pay you. Give us a payment plan. And so this year, when the budget was released, some payments have been advanced already. Even today, I got notes from some of the students asking that they felt that a list has been brought, and so they want to go to the embassy and check whether their names are on. And I said, go and do that. If your name is not on, let us know, and let's see what we can do. And so we are paying. We are committed to paying.
Why did you want to pass that bill and the certificate of urgency?
Because, you see, as it stands now, we don't know how to regulate scholarships. And every day you are getting new applications. And we cannot say that as a government we won't support our students who have to go out study. But how do we do it? Do we make the same mistakes others made? If no, then we must do something about it. And so there is that urgent need to have a bill, to have some regulations in place. Because if I don't want to repeat the mistakes that my predecessor made, and then I sit down and say, okay, because we know how long bills can take in this country. It can take a year. Are you saying within a year, no Ghanaian students will get access?
Because that is now you're freezing fresh scholarships.
Exactly.
Awaiting the outcome of the audit and also the bill?
And then the bill. And so that is why we are pushing it under the certificate of agents, so that we're able to have a regime in place.
But if you want to solve the problem, and you've articulated the problem, then you must get a bill fit for purpose, which means you must consult broadly.
We did. You see, the necessary consultations were done.
But civil society say no. I mean, I saw Kojo Asante's CDD's post. He was alarmed. He said, stop it.
You see, Evans.
Kofi Asari also started a petition.
Evans, you can definitely have, you can't consult everybody.
But at least Kofi Asari is in this industry, is very, if you consulted, he would have known. His colleagues in the civil society space would have known who has been consulted.
Evans, we did. And you see, as part of our promises in our manifesto, the bill or the promise to address the challenges of the scholarship secretariat was one of the promises we promised in a 120-day pledge.
Who did you consult, though?
Well, we did consult a lot of organizations.
Such as?
I can't give you offhand, but I know some consultations did go on. And then we had a bigger technical committee. So usually what we do is you constitute a technical committee. So people like, for instance, somebody like Sam Garba, who was former administrator of the GET Fund, who also administered scholarships during his time, was one of the key technical people on the committee. And so we brought so what we did was, because of the promise we made of doing this within the 120 days, we needed to pick people who have had something to do with education, renowned people, professors, people from the universities. So we brought together a whole lot, constituted a technical committee, where I chaired together with Adwumawura Addo as co-chair, and then we put together the bill. But if people have challenges, there is nothing wrong. We can always withdraw the bill.
It has been withdrawn.
Exactly.
On the floor, I'm reduced to say the president, obviously, chief of staff, alerted him that, look, there have been petitions.
Yes.
So they should pause.
They should pause.
It's been paused.
So at least the good people of Ghana knows that the promise we made of putting a bill before Parliament at least had been fulfilled. There are challenges. And the beauty of governance is that when you have issues, when citizens who you seek to serve have challenges and then they raise those challenges, you go back to them and then listen to them and then let them make their inputs. There is nothing wrong. And so we are more than happy to consult broadly again.
So you have no qualms with the withdrawal of the bill?
No, it cannot be a problem.
Okay, has the consultations begun?
We'll definitely begin.
How long do you expect this to take?
Or maybe another month, and then we have to go back again to Parliament.
Okay,
because we don't have the luxury of time, because people's lives are on the line as well.
When you go back, you still want to do it once you consult on the certificate of agency?
Of course, yes. You see, as for the certificate of agency, we will have to, because if we are going to go through the normal processes of passing a bill, Evans, you know that it could take even a year. Are we saying that within a year we will not administer scholarships? Would that be good for us as a country? No. And then are we saying that within a year, people who are looking for it, because sometimes you have recommendations from the universities. This student must go and do and come back and help. So are we saying that in a year we are not going to do anything? We must do something.
How are you dealing with the political influence in the scholarship award process, which really has been the main
It is all in the bill.
How are you dealing with that? How are you taking politicians away from...
So, for instance, George Opare Addo, no family member of mine can have access.
So you've written it into the bill? It's
in the bill that certain people of political class. So if we don't...
And your relatives? Or just you?
Evans, this is a very difficult question.
No, it's not. It's a very simple one.
One of the things we debated on during the drafting was, so I come from a very big family. The Opare Addos are all over. And Immediately you say you're an Opare Addo, they know which house you are coming from on the Krapi Bridge. But not everybody is known by me. So if an Opare Addo from somewhere goes to apply for a scholarship, and then they ask him, do you know Opare Addo? The minister says yes. He may have no direct relations to me. Does he qualify or does he get disqualified because he's related to me?
Does the bill as it stands now say you're disqualified because the person says they know you?
For immediate family members.
Okay, so that's the wedding.
Immediate family members. But you see, it's a challenge. But I believe strongly that it's unconscionable for people such as me, people like me, who can afford to pay fees, to want to let my people or even myself go and take a scholarship. Last 2 years, I got admission to Columbia. I was conflicted because I could have applied to the scholarship secretariat to go and do an LLM. And the young man who was there was my roommate from the university, Kingsley Ajima. So I could have just gone to his office and said, oh, bro, I have admission. But I asked myself whether it will be proper, whether it will be right. Because if I want to pay to go to Columbia, I should be able to raise that money and go to Columbia. I decided to stay back home. And at least, if LLMs are being run in Legon and others, why don't I just go there and see if I can? Even that I couldn't do it because of the political seasons I found myself in. And so...
But here's the question to you, because you're also the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. How are you dealing with your party people who will be possibly very upset with you that they've sacrificed, they've worked hard, they have kids who need to go to school, relatives, friends. Then you are now superintending over a bill that is going to price them out of this. In fact, just going to disqualify them from applying. How are you dealing with that? Don't tell me you haven't had that in the last few years.
I work with a lot of young people at the youth secretariat.
Yeah.
And a few of them, I have a young guy called Bright Ejiri. He is a chairman of the NDC's students. So we call him, he's the director of student affairs. When he heard of the bill, he came to me and said, he calls me Pablo. Pablo, pardon me. He said, I said, wow. We saw how a lot of our cohorts on the other side have been educated and gone to school, and they are coming back with all these big degrees, and what are you telling us? And my response to him was simple. Somebody must get the job done. Unfortunately, I have the unpleasant task of being the one, but somebody must get it done. We said we.
And you are the National Youth Organizer.
Exactly, and we said we are resetting. You didn't put a gun to our head when we said we were going to reset. And I told him that Ghanaians didn't put a gun to our head. We made promises to the good people of this country. The NDC did not give John Mahama the kind of victory we got. It was Ghanaians who gave us that victory. So that promise we made to them, President Mahama is a promise keeper, and I will support him. Keep that promise.
Even if it costs you the base of your party, a lot of them young people.
They would understand eventually.
You think they will?
They will eventually. Maybe for now, but eventually. And you see, if the bill is passed, people who are deserving, people who truly deserve to be given that opportunity will get it. And they are Ghanaians. It is about Ghana. It is not just about the NDC. Yes, I'm National Youth Organizer of the NDC. My job is to help Ghana for now because I'm minister for Ghana, not minister for just the NDC. And so whatever we do, the supreme interest of the country should be at the forefront. I
mean, while you do all this audit, and what about those who were responsible for mismanaging the scholarship secretariat? What happened?
I'm a lawyer, Ivan, so I don't always I don't jump the gun. Let's finish what we are doing. A lot of times we've crucified people who were not guilty in this country. And it's always about providing evidence in courts. I've always said that it is not what you know, it is what you're able to prove in courts. Once our job is done and we have enough evidence to be able to hold anybody culpable, the wheels of justice always grind slowly, but it always gets to its destination. What I can assure the good people of this country is that anybody who is found culpable will face the law. But for now, I won't insinuate, I won't call people guilty until the job is done. When it is all done, like we say in Akan, when the frog dies, when it is all done, when we are done with all that we are doing, we'll have a clearer picture. And so if anybody is culpable, that person will be dealt with accordingly. I'm not one of those who will come and sit on TV or radio and shout and call people guilty when I don't have enough facts to be able to ascertain to that. And moreover, it is not my job to sit on TV or radio to say somebody is guilty. When I have my evidence, I'm not the one who is going to go to court. I submit it to the investigative agencies. They do their job, they hand it over to the Attorney General. And then based on what they have, or what the Attorney General is presented with, he will decide whether to prosecute or not to prosecute.
And then you have also the national service issue to deal with. We've heard quite a bit from Attorney General. Well, what have you learned yourself as the minister who is ultimately responsible?
National service has its own issues, and what I want to be remembered for is the minister who fixed the national service problem, because this is not the first time. It happened under our watch when we were in government. We had issues with ghost names. It's become like after every 8 years, the issue of ghost names do come.
Yeah.
In 2013, 2014, when the scandal broke, we fixed the problem halfway, and we didn't address it holistically. That is the only reason why in 2025 we are still talking about ghost names. What I am doing currently, and I'm working with the security agencies, I'm working with the Auditor General. Even this morning, I had a discussion with the Auditor General on some of the things they are uncovering. When we are done, we will put together a platform, a system that we will never have the scandal again, especially in this modern day of AI, where technology is apt and it should be deployed in a way that we shouldn't have any issues. I want to assure service personnel, we've held on to their allowance. We've not yet paid their allowance for last month because the president had to instruct that we suspend the metric app that we are using. And so even the app for the new postings has been suspended. We are working behind the scenes. We are developing something for the National Service Authority itself. All these apps and others were owned by private individuals. National Service didn't even have access to the data.
You still don't have access?
You see, so per the contracts, the person is not supposed to hand over after 3 years to the National Service Authority. But if we do accept that, it comes with consequences. And so we are waiting on the Auditor General's reports. We are waiting on his advice. I'm not a technical person in that field. And once the advice comes, we will. But what we intend to do going forward is to let the National Service own it and establish. It's a state agency that should be able to manage its own data. And even the challenge of national data being in the hands of private individuals is wrong. So whoever signed that contract in the first place will have questions to answer. How you agree that state data, people's personal data, should be in the hands of a private individual instead of being in the hands of the state is challenging. And so once we are done, I want to assure everybody that we will get a job done and do it very well. We will not have another scandal. If there's going to be another problem with national service, it will not have to do with ghost names and people profiting. Currently,
what options are you looking at? Because those are very bold, ambitious comments and statements you're making for a problem that has persisted for decades. What options are you looking at? How are you planning to fix this?
We will develop a system that will be owned by the national service itself. Make sure we have capable and able people to run it and bring on board every technology that should be brought on board so that we don't have what happened again. The NIA has everybody's biodata on the Ghana card. And so no Ghana card, no national service, no payment. The era where schools that were not even accredited by the accreditations board had access to a system and could feed in. A lot of the schools in the north, what we've discovered, a lot of the schools in the north were not accredited schools, but yet they could feed into the system and post people for national service. That is where the mess happened from. Every student who is enrolled in a tertiary institution has an identity with the accreditation. So that should feed in. And so your scorecard from first year, second year, third year should be in a system we should be able to access. And that is the kind of system we are putting in place. And so it cannot be said again that we had ghost names, because we should have a proper trail. I told you about how I want to transform with digitalization, where if a mail is entered, and the kind of systems we want to deploy, for instance, what the banks use. When a transaction happens in the bank and you do an entry, you cannot delete. You can only do a correction. And whatever the original one is, you will find in the system. That is the kind of system we are going to deploy. And so if I put in Opare Addo's name, and there's a ghost name, and the auditors coming, I will not be able to delete. And we're also giving whoever is going to have access to the system, once you enter your key, you have to enter with a key, a pass key. And so with any audit, we'll know who has entered the system. But we are deploying a system just like what the banks have. And so you cannot do otherwise. And everybody's payment will be tied to his Ghana card. Everybody's payment. And so, and Ghana card to your Momo number or to your bank account number. And the account number, your Momo number, and your Ghana card must have the same name. If your Momo number is not registered with that Ghana card, you cannot have payment. And your bank details must carry the same name. And the banks have your Ghana card as well. And so the systems we are putting in place, the checks and balances, you cannot have the money to your account. And so if there's going to be a system, then the bank must be compromised. The NIA must be compromised. And then the gifts platform must also be compromised. And so all these platforms are going to come together to administer the national system.
For those students who have not been paid yet, and you mentioned it because of you frozen payments.
Exactly.
Because you can audits.
Because we don't do that. We end up still paying ghosts.
So how long has it been since?
It's just 1 month.
A month. How long before you can begin to pay them?
We are hoping in the next 1 week or two.
So it will take up at least 2 months?
No. So if we are going to pay, we didn't pay them for last month. So that is the end of June. We are still in July. July is not yet over.
So at the end of July,
they should get 2
months.
Yes.
At the end of July.
Usually national service allowances delay 3 or 4 months before they get paid. But ever since we came, we've been very consistent. But we realized that the figures keeps. So, and because of the kind, we've done head counts. So based on the head counts, that is how we're paying them. But we need a system that will be able to stop this once and for all. And that is what we are working on. And I want to assure everybody listening that it will be dealt with and fixed properly.
Do you have any timelines for this? Because the audit is going to be done very soon. In terms of rollout of this new initiative.
Today, what the Auditor General told me was, told him, Chief, he's a Reverend, the people are, says Honorable Minister, I beg you, let's do it and do it right. I'm under pressure, you're under pressure, but you see, these are technical things that if we don't do it right and we rush through it, and the problem comes back, we would have embarrassed ourselves. We are only pleading with service personnel. Endure and bear with us for just a little while. It won't go past the end of July.
And going back to your manifesto, you promised them, though, that you would review allowances for national service.
We are in touch with the Ministry of Finance, hopefully next year or the year after. But something is being done. We are still talking. You know, the economy itself is challenged. And so...
The economy is bouncing back.
It's bouncing back, but it is not back yet.
But you promised them.
Yes, we will do something about it. Like I told you, President Mama is a promise keeper. Go through the manifesto. You see that we've taken a lot of the promises. We have presented our request to the Ministry of Finance. there is a new budgetary regime that will take place from October for the 2026 budget. We are very hopeful that that request we've made will receive some favorable response.
Okay, what was the proposed increase?
Let's leave it there. I don't want...
The young men and women are listening.
No. You see, it is like what we say, man proposes, God... So, exactly. So what we have proposed may not be what we are getting. But
that's what you propose. You can tell them what you propose.
I can't tell them what we've proposed. The government communication is such that until it is finally approved, I can't put out the figure. It's not proper.
Given a range?
I'm not giving
between
ranges.
5 to 10% increase?
Ranges. What we know is that we've sent a proposal to the Ministry of Finance. We will have to go to Cabinet and also speak to it and defend it. If it finds favor, which I know, and I know how passionate His Excellency is about young people and how he wants to see their progress, definitely something good is coming out. You know, we are doing something even with the military for national service, this military training thing we are doing. The President has graciously given approval to it, and some monies have been allocated to even start. And so the first batch of 10,000 will start their training in September. 6 weeks, 6 weeks technically, to go through a certain military regime. And a lot of the students, they themselves are signing on. And so clearly, everything that affects youth development, President Mahama has given a favorable response to it. And so I know very well for a fact that when that time comes, when we are looking at the 2026 budgets and the discussions come up, I know he will attend to it favorably.
I mean, so you currently, obviously, from everything you've said, after 6 months, you have a full hang of a lot of the issues now. But you're still the National Youth Organizer. Why haven't you resigned that position?
This is an issue that is coming before our neck tomorrow. To whether we should resign or we should not resign. Evans, I have an elected mandate for 4 years. I don't believe that the work I do as Minister for Youth Development conflicts with my work as National Youth Organizer. We have sitting members of parliament who go to their constituencies every month, every week, and go and work. And also sit in as ministers, and there's been no conflict whatsoever. So if I was an MP and I was a minister, would I be conflicted? No. So if I still serve as National Youth Organizer and I am Minister of State, there is no conflict because there are two independent roles. And my work as youth organizer and my work as minister are two distinct things. It's just like being an MP and serving your constituents and also being a minister and serving the states. They are two distinct roles. If NEC comes up strongly and says that we should resign, maybe. But I remember making it very clear to them at NEC, at FEC, that it's a constitutional issue. And so we must relook at our constitution as a party. In 2009, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu was National Youth Organizer until 2010, when we went to Congress, and then a new National Youth Organizer was elected in the person of Ludwig Roger.
Which year is this?
2009.
I asked that deliberately, yes. But this is the year of resetting.
Yes. No,
Things have changed.
I'm saying that when we go to NEC, tomorrow we have a NEC meeting as a party, and when NEC decides that this is what should happen,
you would comply?
Of course, I'm a member of the party. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I have so much respect for the party. It's because of the NDC. That is why you graciously hosted me in your studio. Sure. So whatever that will put the party in good stead and make the party look right in the eyes of the people, I will comply.
Why don't you take the unilateral step to do so?
Even I contested,
because the party's meeting, in fact, in the same chair, yeah. Asiodun Ketia was here. I asked him that question. He was worried. About
because there are constitutional
the challenges exactly that are opposed, focus on the party, focus on the government.
Because there are constitutional issues. You see, nobody can unilaterally say A or B. My elected position is for 4 years. I'm minister today.
But on your own volition.
Tomorrow morning, the president says he's fired me. What happens? Exactly. So.
But you accepted the job. It's an offer. You accepted to be a governor.
And I'm saying no problem. I'm saying that let's go to NEC tomorrow. I am of the opinion that this decision can only be taken by Congress. But if NEC, which is the second highest decision-making body, decides to take that decision, then I will have to come and define which positions should resign. Because if I am a minister, if I'm a deputy minister, if I'm a CEO, if I'm a board chair, if I'm a presidential staffer, or it's just only ministers. We need to define it clearly. Who does this decision affect? Does it affect board chairmen? Does it affect only ministers? Does it affect only presidential staffers? We need to broadly agree as a party. And I am of the opinion that it is only Congress that can come up with this. We need to amend our constitution because we've been here before. In 2009, we were here. So we should have used that opportunity to fix it. But there is nothing wrong. We are here today. If we have to fix it, then let's fix it now. So that tomorrow, we don't have to go back and forth again.
Pablo,
Evans.
thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And all the best.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.